Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo Meets Courage the Cowardly Dog from 2021. Now, I've never seen this. I think I knew about it like a year ago, that it had come out, and I didn't grab a copy up. Number one, the title is awful. Why are you calling this Straight Outta Nowhere? Was this around the same time that Straight Outta Compton came out? And if it was, why did you choose to apply that to a children's movie? I love Straight Outta Compton. Great movie if you haven't seen it, but this... why'd you do that? Anyway, so this was a movie I bought recently for like $5 at Walmart. I showed it in my previous movie haul for you guys, and I've been wanting to get around to this and a couple of other things I finally did watch, and I wanted to bomb out these reviews. I have absolutely been in a horror mood recently. I don't know what it was, I don't know why it was, but it just keeps hitting me harder this recent last week or so. And this is one of the things I really wanted to get to. Now, it is a children's horror movie. It's about an hour and 18 minutes long. The biggest issue with this is that it's too childish, like a lot of Goosebumps, or not Goosebumps, sorry. There's a comparison I'm going to make in a moment that will apply to Goosebumps, but it's the more childish, modern angle of Scooby-Doo that you typically get. For this particular movie, think of the recent Halloween movie they made a few years back, too. I'm not a fan of modern Scooby-Doo, not to be honest with you. I think post What's New Scooby-Doo, I have not been a fan, to be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff that they're making that are sequels to old stuff. Like, I think the first most recent thing I had seen was Return to Zombie Island, and that was shockingly bad. I mean, horrifically awful and bad. If you haven't seen that one, don't. It'll ruin Zombie Island for you. Anyway, Scooby-Doo, when I was growing up, and way before I was ever born, because I think it's, what, a 70s cartoon, a 60s cartoon? Scooby-Doo was the OG Goosebumps. See how I brought that in like I said I would? Scooby-Doo was, from what I understand, from what I've known in history, because I'm a big horror guy and always have been, Scooby-Doo very well could have been the first ever children's horror cartoon, in the sense that it had a great, scary atmosphere. You could watch it any time of the year, Saturday mornings, during the week. You could watch it in the fall or in the summer, and it would have this atmosphere that could creep you out as a kid. And even now as an adult, there's certain Scooby-Doo monsters, like that one android thing that's like got the blue cap and stuff, and it hangs out that carnival place. That episode in general still scares me to this day, and I had some horrific nightmares as a kid about that episode, and sometimes as an adult. I don't like that guy. There's other stuff that my wife finds really creepy about Scooby-Doo, but we're both big fans of the original series. I think it's great. I say all that to say this. When I was growing up, of course, Courage the Cowardly Dog was released in like, what, 98, 97, somewhere in there? And it was the next version of like Scooby-Doo, just without a gang of people. You had Eustace and Muriel, the old couple, and you had monsters that came after Courage, the little pink dog that we followed here. Now, even my wife and I were talking about this. Personally, I think I like Courage, not only the show, but the dog himself, more than Scooby. So I kind of wondered what they were going to do here. This is a typical team-up thing. Think of back in the day when Scooby-Doo would meet up with like Batman and stuff. I would love to hear down below too, by the way, who you like more, Scooby-Doo or Courage. I'd love to start that whole rivalry 3 years after this movie came out in my audience comments section. But anyway, this is not a good movie. It's not a good movie. I was hoping that you took my childhood terror from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Think of like the Slab episode where you had that creepy, one of the first times I've ever, outside of Beast Wars, seen a CGI three-dimensional character be put into a 2D animated show with that one fella that's like, "Return the Slab." That is horrific. That is still terrifying. I showed my wife the clip of that from YouTube the other day because she didn't realize how scary Courage was when we were kids, and she had never seen that. And she even said it put a chill down her spine and would have frightened her when she was a kid. But that episode traumatized me more than the carnival episode from Scooby-Doo. Now, I love both of these characters. I love their gangs and their groups. I'll get into cast stuff in a moment because there's a lot to talk about with that. But essentially, the idea of this story is that Scooby-Doo is hanging out with the gang and something goes wrong when they had just caught this kind of creepy clown, robbery, thief, whatever you want to call the guy. And Scooby begins to hear this thing that's messing with him. There's some kind of sound effect from Courage the Cowardly Dog. I think it's the dun 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 dun, that whatever that is. That was not very good, but I think it's that noise that he keeps hearing, and it's not really putting him into a trance, but it's driving him nuts and it's making him anxious, kind of like Courage used to be. And he literally just runs away. He runs away, and Shaggy looks over and he's like, "Dude, he's running!" Like, it's great. But anyway, Scooby runs and runs and runs out of the city limits into the middle of nowhere, which eventually becomes the place called Nowhere, where Courage the Cowardly Dog always took place. And he comes across Courage. Apparently, he and Courage are having this same thing happen to them. I don't know if it's because Courage has always been traumatized and always having that thing happen, or whether it's a shared delusion. Apparently, it is a shared delusion by the end of the movie. So basically, while the gang come to chase after Scooby, they happen to realize that now the little house that Eustace, Muriel, and Courage lives in the middle of nowhere, happens to be attacked by these big, humongous bug monsters. They kind of look like beetles a little bit. Now, this is the thing. This was not a creative monster for Scooby-Doo or for Courage the Cowardly Dog. Courage the Cowardly Dog and Scooby-Doo had some of the best monster designs absolutely ever when it comes to comparisons with Goosebumps, or whether it be comparisons with Are You Afraid of the Dark. These two measure out a lot. Very well so, I would say. And this movie doesn't really utilize that. These bug monsters are nothing. Like, they're just bugs. They're just big old bugs that are a little hostile, but not in a fun hostile way where they're able to do something like eat through metal or something, you know? They aren't able to do anything like that. They just attack you, you know, and you might not have a car or a house to hide in. Maybe they can come through the house walls or something. There's nothing like that. There's not really any stakes in here. And eventually it all boils down to this, like, I think it's like a rock with some diamonds or something stuck into it. It's on the back cover here on my torn up copy of this. But that little thing, that's what it comes down to, that this thing is causing these issues for Courage and Scooby, but also these bugs to come out of nowhere. Or into nowhere. I don't know. They're coming from somewhere. So this is a team-up thing, obviously, of the gang and Courage having to solve this issue. Eustace is involved in here a lot more than Muriel was, and I kind of understand. I don't know. I found out a lot of things, right? The lady who played Muriel died either right during this movie or right after this movie, around in that ballpark. Same year, 2021. So that's pretty sad. And I noticed she's not in it that much, which is strange, because usually in Courage, Muriel would get kidnapped by the monster or the villain. You know, Courage would go save her. Eustace is in this. He doesn't sound anything like himself, and I guess this is going to kind of transition me over to talking about the performances, I guess. That's because both of the actors who played Eustace back in the day are dead. They've been dead for a long time. One actually replaced the original voice. And they were both great when I grew up. I loved them both, as far as I remember. But this new voice, it's bad. He doesn't sound like Eustace, man. And I almost thought for a long time that Courage had been recast as well. But no, it is the same guy that played Courage back in the day when you and I were kids, probably. But he doesn't sound anything like Courage. Whether it be the voice, whether it be when Courage panics and he's saying all this stuff, this bunch of gibberish that Courage used to say, it doesn't sound like Courage. And I don't know if that's a director thing, because I don't believe for 2 seconds this guy just magically can't do the voice again after like 10 years or 15 or 18 or whatever it's been since the last time we had Courage have a TV show. I think it went off the air in like 2003 or 2002, somewhere in there. It was like a 5 or 6 season show. And it's just a bummer, man, overall, that this didn't turn out that well. You do have some other voice casts that are always good from the Scooby-Doo side, like, what is his name? Frank Welker? Is that his name? Let me look it up. Yeah, Frank Welker. He's still in here playing Fred. I think he plays Scooby-Doo as well, and I don't like his version of Scooby-Doo that much. I love Frank Welker, but his version of Scooby is just not for me. Scooby might as well be speaking English. He doesn't do his weird kind of speech impediment stuff enough, in my opinion. And I think that would have been a great way to make Scooby and Courage kind of bond. Maybe they both feel like they have speech impediments or something. You would think the day and age we live in, that would be utilized here in a good way, in a fun way. It was not. You had Gray Griffin, who I love, who plays Mandy on Billy and Mandy. I love that chick. She's in here playing Daphne. Daphne doesn't speak a whole lot in here, so It is what it is. Of course, Matthew Lillard from Scream and from the live-action Scooby-Doos is still playing Shaggy. And I like when he and Eustace and Scooby-Doo have to team up to go places. And Eustace, for whatever reason, doesn't like Shaggy, just like he typically doesn't like anybody. But he'll be like, yeah, let's go look for food, shaggy-haired fella. And he keeps saying that all the time. It was driving me nuts as I watched this movie. But overall, there's no real momentum to the plot. It has that kind of... It feels like your typical generic kids movie, in my opinion. That's not a bad thing, but as somebody who was excited that this was promoted to people my age, a kid nowadays is not going to know who Courage the Cowardly Dog is. This was a way to trick people like you and I into watching a Courage the Cowardly Dog, essentially, if you want to say revival, you could, but at least a comeback. And I can say that because it's straight out of nowhere, like straight out of Compton. It's weird to me that you would try to act like this shouldn't be for people my age. Not that it needs to be adult or anything, but at least make it scary, dude. That's another cool thing about this, too. You have a lot of throwbacks in the backgrounds of scenes and statues and whatever of old Courage the Cowardly Dog villains. Some of them actually show up in the movie, which was kind of neat. Two of them in particular will probably make you smile at the very end of the film. But there's some other ones in here that you probably remember, like Le Quack, who was a French duck who was evil, or Cat was in this for like a brief second. In the background, you might have like statues of Cat himself, the red cat that was so mean. You might have like the Slab from the Return the Slab episode I talked about that traumatized me. And I was hoping that he would make an appearance in here, but I guess they didn't want to do it because of the 3D stuff. But there was a lot of cool references in here in the background. That's the one thing that kept me watching for the an hour and an 18-minute runtime, was getting to see these old monsters that I loved. Now, I own the box set from Cartoon Network they put out a couple of years ago. I haven't rewatched through it yet. It's kind of one of the things I want to do this year, but I don't know if I'll have time with so much other stuff I'm watching through on VHS and Blu-ray and everything else in my collection. But I think this will be really good. I do. For the right person, maybe. But the references to those old villains was great. I loved all of that. There's a couple of jokes in here that I swear are references to the old show. Not only for Scooby, but for Courage as well. And I liked all that, and I admired that. A lot of those sound effects you knew, whether it be songs, whether it be certain things that Courage, the show, used to do, they're done here too, and I kind of like that. Eustace, Muriel, and Courage have a certain way they're drawn and colored now that looks weird for them, but fits for the modern day aesthetic of Scooby-Doo. I don't know whether I like it or not, but it is what it is. So anyway, most of the stuff is really, really fine. There's a couple of scenes where there's some 3D CGI animation mixed in with some 2D hand-drawn, and that's mildly okay. For how rough the movie is, that's not the most distracting thing about it. It's just not. It's not, man. But I don't really have much more to say about this. It's a really missed opportunity in my opinion, which is a shame because I really wanted to love this and I just don't. I really think for the most part it kind of sucks. But it's more of a kids movie. If you wanted your kids to experience Courage the Cowardly Dog, show them the original show if they're old enough, if you think as a parent or a grandparent or whatever that they can handle it. That makes sense. Don't show them this. It's so lame. If they're really young, this would be okay. It's not really scary. There's no real tense moments or suspenseful moments or anything like that. But I don't really recommend it. It's not that great. If you're an adult like me and you just love Courage the Cowardly Dog and wanted to see kind of a comeback of that with Scooby-Doo in the mixture too, which sounded kind of cool, don't bother. It's not that good. There's a reason you never heard anybody talking about this. So anyway, when it comes to straight out of nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog, if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 2 out of 5 stars. It has some benefits to it. Most of it sucks. Most of it's just lame, and again, more of a kid's movie than anything, which I'm trying to be fair about, but even as a kid, I don't think I would have liked this movie more, and I try to perceive movies that way when I know they're meant for a younger audience, especially for my horror movie reviews when I do talk about animated stuff. But the fact that as a kid, I loved Goosebumps so much, and I didn't love a lot of the newer Scooby-Doo stuff that came out after What's New Scooby-Doo. I think that alone can kind of tell you that kids know when they actually like something or not, or when something is as good as an older version of that same thing. And in this case, it's not. So that's my general review. I don't think most kids would like it. I don't think anybody my age who it's meant for would like it either. So Don't get duped, is what I'm trying to tell you. But $5 from a Walmart bin, that's not so bad. Anyway, what did you think about Straight Outta Nowhere? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about it down in the comment section down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you looking forward to this after I talked about it the other day? Not only the review, but the movie itself. Did you check it out based on hearing about it from me? I'd love to hear all that down below too. Anyway, I got a lot of reviews to stack up to review and put out for you, so hopefully you'll enjoy that stuff too. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. What's your favorite Courage episode, or your favorite Scooby episode, or your favorite Scooby movie? I'd love to hear all that down below too. I need to talk about some more Scooby-Doo stuff this summer. There's stuff that I haven't watched again yet that I usually try to every year, like Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost I might rewatch for this October. I don't know. I haven't really decided on all that yet. But anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and 2 out of 5 stars for this. Goodbye.